First on our list is Enzo Fernandez, who has 2 kids. Coming up next on our list is Sergio Ramos, who has 4 kids. Up next is Neymar, who has 3 children. Next is Antoine Griezmann. He is happily married to his wife with 3 kids. Coming up next is Riyad Mahrez, who has 3 kids. Up next is the legendary Ronaldinho, who has 1 son. Coming up next is Hugo Lloris, who is happily married to his wife with 3 beautiful girls. Next is Angel Di Maria, who has 2 lovely daughters. Coming up next is Alisson Becker, who is happily married to his wife with 3 kids. Up next is Dani Carvajal, who has 2 sons. Next on our list is the legendary Diego Maradona, who was happily married with 5 children. Next is Toni Kroos, who is happily married to his wife with 3 children. Up next is Rafael Varane, who has 3 kids. Coming up next is Ricardo Kaká, who is happily married to his wife with 4 kids. Next is Lucas Hernandez, who has 1 child. Up next on our list is Sergio Busquets, who has 3 children. Next is Thiago Silva, who has 2 sons. Coming up next is Jordi Alba, who has 3 kids. Up next is Virgil van Dijk, who is happily married with 2 kids. Next on our list is Nacho Fernandez, who has 4 children. Up next is Mason Mount, who has 1 kid. Coming up next is Ederson, who has 3 lovely kids. Next is Hakan Calhanoglu, who has 3 kids. Coming up next on our list is Alejandro Garnacho, who has a son. Up next is Pepe, who has 2 children. Next is David Beckham, who is happily married to his wife with 4 kids. Coming up next is Kevin De Bruyne, who has 3 lovely kids. Up next is Federico Valverde, who has 2 sons. Next is Rodrigo de Paul, who is happily married to his wife with 2 lovely children. Next is Fernando Torres, who has 3 kids. Up next is Harry Maguire, who has 2 kids. Coming up next is Zinedine Zidane, who has 4 sons. Next on our list is Paul Pogba, who is happily married with 2 children. Up next is Jack Grealish, who has a lovely daughter. Next is Achraf Hakimi, who has 2 kids. Coming up next is Thibaut Courtois, who is happily married to his wife with 2 kids. Next is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who has 2 children. Up next on our list is Marcelo Vieira, who has 2 kids. Next is Karim Benzema, who has 4 children. Coming up next is Sergio Aguero, who has 2 lovely kids. Up next is Eder Militao, who has a beautiful daughter. Next is Wayne Rooney, who has 4 children. Up next is Theo Hernandez, who has 2 children. Coming up next is Raheem Sterling, who has 5 lovely kids. Coming up next is Darwin Nunez, who has 2 kids. Up next is Robert Lewandowski, who has 2 lovely daughters. Next is Jorginho, who has 2 kids. Coming up next on our list is Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who has 2 kids. Up next is Thierry Henry, who has 3 children. Next is David Alaba, who is happily married to his wife with 2 lovely kids. Coming up next is Dani Alves, who has 2 kids. Up next is Steven Gerrard, who has 4 children. Next is Lucas Paqueta, who is happily married to his wife with 2 lovely boys. Next is Lautaro Martinez, who has 2 kids. Up next is Diogo Costa, who has 2 children. Coming up next is Bruno Fernandes, who has 2 lovely kids. Next on our list is Didier Drogba, who is happily married with 3 children. Up next is Gerard Pique, who has 2 sons. Next is Marc-Andre Ter Stegen, who has 2 kids. Coming up next is Mohamed Salah, who is happily married to his wife with 2 lovely daughters. Next is Ronaldo, who has 5 children. Up next on our list is Francesco Totti, who has 3 kids. Next is Roberto Firmino, who has 4 children. Coming up next is Luis Diaz, who has 2 lovely kids. Up next is Wojciech Szczesny, who has 2 kids. Next is Andre Lunin, who has a son. Coming up next on our list is Olivier Giroud, who has 4 kids. Next on our list is Marquinhos, who is happily married with 3 kids. Next is Andres Iniesta, who is happily married to his wife with 5 children. Next is Luka Modric, who has 3 kids. Coming up next is Phil Foden, who has 3 kids. Up next is Gabriel Jesus, who who has two lovely kids. Next is Mesut Ozil, who has two lovely daughters. Up next is the legendary Lionel Messi, who has three sons. Coming up next is Ilkay Gundogan, who has two children. Next on our list is Gareth Bale, who is happily married with four children. Up next is Luis Suarez, who has three kids. Next is Bernardo Silva, who has one kid. Up next is Case Moreau, who has two kids. Next is Declan Rice, who has one child. Coming up next is Rodrigo, who has twins. Next is Rafinha, who has a lovely daughter. Up next is Victor Osimhen, who has one kid. Coming up next is Iker Casillas, who is happily married with two boys. Next is Harry Kane, who has four children. Up next is the legendary Pele, who had 7 children. And the last person on our list is Cristiano Ronaldo, who has 5 lovely kids.